The Awareness Revolution Podcast, where we bring you alternative views on big topics that affect just about everyone. If you want to improve your life and change the world, then stay tuned. You'll hear cutting-edge health, financial, and personal development strategies from a revolutionary perspective. Warning: listening may take you outside your comfort zone, separate you from the pack, and change the way you see the world. Here's your host, Jeremy Kinney.
We've got a fun show in store for you today. This is going to be something different, something that I haven't done yet. But I have Cynthia on a call with me, and we're going to be going over how to start a YouTube channel. Cynthia is a past client of mine. I actually shot her wedding a few years ago, probably at least 5 years by now, and she's booked me for some other things, and she called me up, wanted me to help her get started on this YouTube channel. And since it's a common question that I get a lot, and plus I'm passionate about it, I have a few YouTube channels myself, and I just love to help people get started. I figured I'll go ahead and give her like a free coaching call. Right now I'm not busy, I'm not working because all of my gigs are postponed. So, if this isn't enough later on, if I'm still not busy, Cynthia, or if you're one of the listeners, I can do continued coaching online just in the same way. But without further ado, Cynthia, thanks and welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thanks,
For sure.
Jeremy.
I'm pretty excited about it. I truly do love this kind of stuff. So I'm just excited to go over it. So let's go ahead and get started. Can we start off with just kind of just give us a brief summary of what you envision and what you're trying to do with YouTube channel?
Well, the channel is actually for my children. So my son wants to do a gaming channel, and my daughter, she wants to start her little channel for children and just showing them diversity through her channel and learning and fun. So I told them that I'll figure it out, call you up because I know this, and say, Jeremy, help me.
Awesome. And you said you want to do one for your husband too, right? He's
Yeah,
interested in getting one. Okay, so we've got
my
3 of them.
husband is interested as well.
Okay. All right, so I'll keep most of the information general that will apply to all 3 of the channels, and plus it'll be useful for any of the listeners. And then later on in person, I can maybe go over details and specifics on one of the particular channels.
Okay.
Okay, but I will share my screen in just a moment, and I'm going to actually show you a kids channel. It's actually a kids channel that my daughter started watching a few years ago, and they've been really successful. I think they provide great content, and that'll be a good kind of model to base it off of and give you a visual as well.
Okay.
And just for everyone listening, if you're just listening on iTunes, we also have a video podcast on iTunes, so that way you can see the visuals. And we also have a YouTube channel for our podcast where you can view the video version of it there as well. But I'll try to keep it not so visual for the people who are just listening. So let's dive in. It's a famous adage in the basically internet marketing in general that content is king. It's been that way for a long time, and it's that way now, and will probably be that way for the foreseeable future. So that's kind of a no-brainer, a given. But of course, we all have to start there. It starts with good content. So one of the
Yeah.
best ways of getting the content together, you're going to put some time into it, think about it, maybe look at other people who have channels that are successful, that are similar to what you want to create, and just kind of look at the level of content that they have, and that gives you something to go off of. So of course, number one, producing the best content, that's going to be what gives you the longevity for no matter what kind of channel that you make. Of course, it's going to be a little bit different depending on the channel. So I won't go into details on what makes good content because it's going to vary depending on the channel we're talking about. So let's get more into YouTube specific stuff. And besides creating a good content, which in this case is going to be video, besides that, probably the most important, or if not one of the most important aspects of it, is the thumbnail. And this is kind of what separates people from each other in a lot of the cases. And they say you can't judge a book by its cover, because we all do. And YouTube is no different. So when we're scrolling through YouTube, we see a nice thumbnail and we click on it. Sometimes we don't even read the title of the video. So that's why the thumbnail is so important. Um, Sometimes people put the title on there, or they put a keyword or something like that. But the main idea is to draw people in, make people see the thumbnail and want to click it. And the reason why this is so important is because Google and YouTube is owned by the same company. And YouTube is the second biggest search engine behind Google, and it may even surpass it in the future. So the way that they work is very similar. And so, like, let's say if you're on the first page of Google, but you're not the first listing that shows up, you're the fourth. But when a lot of people go to that page, they're clicking on you for whatever reason. Like with Google, it's just going to be text, your headline. When they see that they're clicking on yours, and yours is ranked fourth, it's going to start to favor yours over the ones above it, because Google's going to look at it like, well, they're not clicking on the person that's first ranked, or the second ranked, or the third. They're clicking on this one, so it's going to make your page rank better over time. And the same is true in the video world. If your video is listed on the side with a handful of other similar videos, and people just for some reason just start clicking on yours, that's going to be an indicator for Google to make your video rank better. So that's why it's one of the most important things. But also, I would say, especially for a kids channel, for maybe something like your husband that's really more content based, that's more adults. They're not, they just, they're more conscious about what they're clicking on. Whereas a kid, maybe not even old enough to read, they see a cute looking thumbnail. That's going to be what drives them to click. So I would say, if you had to prioritize the quality of the thumbnail, I would put the most energy and effort into the kids channels.
Okay.
So after that, you've got a few other things on Facebook that are important, but because the thumbnail is so important, I want to give you some resources, and really most of it's free, basically. So the way I look at it, there's good, better, and best. So a good way to do a thumbnail, and you can do this for free, even yourself, if you have no design background. You can use a couple of these resources and make your own, at least to get you started. Because, like with most things, the main thing is to get started. Progress, not perfection. If you wait to make the perfect video, you'll never make the video.
Yeah.
So the main idea is just to get started and keep going. So
Yeah.
if you've got to start with this method, it's a good starting point, but there is a better and best method. And I'll go over those in just a second. So you can use a few websites. I'll show you. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you,
Okay.
and that way you can see. This is a kids channel that my daughter follows, and you can see their thumbnails are very artistic. They have a lot of different things on them, usually a few different images in the foreground and then an image in the background, and they overlay them. It's quite complex, and there's a bunch of these channels like this, and that's one of the things they all have in common is they have great thumbnails. So you can take pictures, take a bunch of different pictures, and then isolate them and add them into thumbnails later, so you have a whole big collection and things like that. I think that's what really makes it.
Wow.
People like to see the faces on there. They like to see what's going to be in the video and stuff like that. So now that I've shown that, the first resource I want to show you to get some images is Pixabay.com. And you don't have to worry about writing this down right now, because I'm going to make notes, and I'll put these main points in our show notes page, which can be found at theawarenessrevolution.com/15, and that's just the number 15 because this is the 15th episode. And I'll have links to these websites there for anyone that wants to find them. But Pixabay is one of many websites that has royalty-free stock images. And this is important because you're allowed to use these images. You don't have to attribute the creator of them, and you don't have to pay, which is great. I mean, there are some sites that are better, like Shutterstock, but the images aren't cheap. So in the beginning, you know, there's a lot of great images. So if you can get a good thumbnail made without paying and it's good, then go for it. Sometimes you may not be able to, and you might have to pay. But Pixabay is usually where I go first. That's mine. But you can just Google free royalty-free images, and you might be able to find something that works even better for you. So that is to get the images to make good images. But then after you get that image, you might want to customize it. You might want to put text over it or overlay a couple images on top of it. So there's another website called Canva.com, and it's pretty neat because you can go on here and it makes it really simple. So depending on what you want to make, you can click on this right here on the website, whether it's a Facebook post or Instagram post. In our case, it would be a YouTube thumbnail. And what that does is it automatically sizes the image for the size that you need for what you're using it for. So just not that you need to memorize this, but for a thumbnail, it's usually 1920 by 1080. That's just the dimensions, but that's all automatically done for you in Canva. It's not the most professional thing. It's a little buggy. It's not a big deal, especially once you get used to it. But you're limited in what you can do. But I've done plenty of thumbnails on it, and it's really great. It's really easy. Basically, it's like Photoshop for people who don't know how to use Photoshop. So I would say that is a good way to start, but a better way, perhaps, is to use a website called Fiverr. And that's because most of the things on there, at least they used to be $5. So it's 5 with 2 R's on the end, Fiverr.com. And again, I'll link to that in the show notes.
Okay.
What this does is it connects you to different different people that offer a wide range of services. And one of the services that you'll find lots of people offering is image design, like YouTube thumbnails. And when I was using them years ago, I was finding people that would do 2, 3, 4, 5 thumbnails for $5. So it's good for two big reasons. One is if you're not very good, there's probably someone that can make them better than you will. And maybe they love it, maybe they can do it in their own time, so they just, they do it. So that's an advantage because you get higher quality thumbnails. But also the other advantage is, it's so cheap, it's almost free, and instead of bogging yourself down and spending your time making your own thumbnails or trying to make your own thumbnails, you can just forget about that, outsource it, and focus on creating good content, which is the key. Because you can get bogged down doing so many different things here, and really ultimately you want to focus on creating the good content because only you can create that. You can outsource the thumbnails, but you actually have to be there. Like if you're doing the kids stuff, you need to be present with your kids and everything like that. And that's what you want to do instead of staring at a screen. I think that's better than making it on your own.
For sure.
But, the best way to do it would be to take it a step further and hire a professional or do it yourself professionally. And that's just because the thumbnails are so important. Some of these people, like another channel that my daughter watches, they make great thumbnails, but it's a group of kids, all siblings, and just one of them is a thumbnail maker, and she likes drawing. So she actually draws them out by hand, and she'll do
Wow.
time lapse where she shows the whole thing, the whole process. And I mean, the amount of work that goes into these thumbnails is incredible. I'll actually pull that up in a second because I mean, it's just and they've done hundreds and hundreds of videos, but now they get to travel around the world and stuff like that. They're huge, and
Mm,
and they play video games together as a family.
wow.
So that's great.
That's awesome.
So that's pretty much the thumbnails. I don't want to go too long on that one, so I'm just gonna go ahead and move on
Okay.
to YouTube. Now I'll show you that video or that channel real quick, and that will give you an idea of some of these thumbnails. But I want to show you a few other things too. So you see it. It's funny is how is her name, the main one. It's over 6 million subscribers,
Wow.
1,600 videos. So it gives you an idea. That's how I was thinking of it. Again, you looking at someone who's doing what you want to do, you can go on here and you can look at the type of videos that they make, look at how many videos they've made. You can look at what time the channel was created. So that gives you an idea. Like, okay, well, maybe they're creating 3 videos a day and the thumbnails are like this and the content, and most of the videos are just playing video games. But they draw these a lot of them, not all of them, but they'll draw a lot of these images up and create them from scratch. And then they also have like the characters that they like, the avatars that they'll use in the video games. They'll actually draw those avatars and make them into their characters on the thumbnails and stuff like that. And they even have merchandise with photos of them, their characters, and they sell it, and that's a revenue stream. So these are all things to take into consideration. But there's another aspect of doing your videos um, on YouTube is the tags. So it's kind of like the keywords for websites and stuff like that. For example, for like a kids gaming channel, you might want to put something about Roblox in the title, but not only in the title, when you upload the video, there's going to be a spot where you can add tags. And you want to put your keywords like Roblox, kids gaming, and stuff into the tag section. And so there's a channel extension, a browser extension that you can get, whether it's Chrome or Firefox. I'm on Firefox right now, so you can go and if you click up in your upper right hand corner, if there's an option there, you can go there and you can see extensions, and you look for tags for YouTube is the name of the extension that I use. I'm sure there's others, but what that does is when you go below a YouTube video and you click on the show more, you'll see a list of tags that the uploader used to tag the video. And if it's something similar to what you're creating, you can use that to go off of to give you some ideas for how to tag your videos. So as you see on the screen, looking at this particular video, they used their name spelled wrong, they used Roblox, and different variations of phrases using the word Roblox because it's a Roblox game. So when you go on a YouTube video, you scroll down, and right about here, there's normally a show more button. I already clicked it, so I'll have to go down. So right here it says show less. Normally, you'll see a show more, and then when you come down, you'll see these tags, and that gives you an idea of how to tag it. And so I'll go back real fast just so you can see some of these thumbnails that this creator has made. And this gives you an idea of the level of quality that you would want in a thumbnail.
Wow.
And the browser extension tags for YouTube is it's just a nice thing to have, just so that way you can see how other people tag it, because that's another aspect of it.
Yeah.
The next one's kind of obvious, but it is something that is a big part of it. So when you create your channel, they have a profile on there, just like on your Facebook or something like that. And I'm clicking on her. I'm so hungry I could eat. Oh, sorry, that's a video playing. But when you go on here, you can see she's linked to her other channels. So like if two kids have a similar kids channel, they can feature each other's channel, which helps.
That's awesome.
Kind of like cross promoting each other. But then you can design the layout. Like right here, you have different playlists that they've created, maybe like a Roblox playlist, a Minecraft playlist, one where it's just actually them in person and stuff like that. But basically, you want to create your own profile and just add all that information in there early on and create a header. I think it's called a header up here at the top. And again, that's something that you could get made at Fiverr.com, or you can make it yourself, and you can always change it too. You might make one now yourself, and then down the road pay someone on Fiverr, and if theirs is better, add it. Maybe down the road again, pay someone else on Fiverr, and if they create a better one, then update it. And I would just say, over time, you're going to learn more, you're going to add more, and so why not keep updating it and keep things fresh to keep improving it?
Yeah.
All right, so I'll keep on moving on now. The next thing I just wanted to mention that is really popular is consistency. YouTube likes people who make consistent videos. So a lot of times what people do, they'll have a show, like we do a video every Friday, something like that. So the way your viewers know to watch you on Friday.
Okay.
I would say maybe for your husband, I would say maybe his videos will probably be less often. So maybe once or twice a week. Whereas the kids, I would crank out as many videos as you can.
Okay.
So maybe that would be like every day. These kid channels that are successful, I've looked it up, and usually they produce 1, 2, 3 videos a day, and that's how they became successful.
Wow.
All right, so another tip I have for you, and this is going to take some time. This is something that maybe you'll pick up right away, but maybe something that you'll have to keep telling yourself and going over in your mind, is to think like a content producer. And that's because that's what you're going to be. So what took me a while was I would find myself doing stuff like having a conversation. And then after an hour has gone by and we've had a great conversation, I'm like, man, I should have made a podcast episode out of that, because, I would have got my work done for the day instead of being distracted talking. So the same thing goes with the kids. If, you're taking the kids somewhere fun, there's an idea for content.
Yeah.
Might as well film it, even if the quality isn't the best, or whatever other reason you're telling yourself to not do it. Use any opportunity to create content, because otherwise, there's all these other things that will happen that will prevent you from doing it. You get too busy, and the same thing goes for any channel, really. You're probably going to be producing a lot of content, but you won't be, unless you're recording it and uploading it, you're not actually producing it.
Yeah.
So to train yourself to think like that, like a good example was today. When you asked me about this, I said, okay, it will take me a while to explain it, so let's go ahead and just record it. And that's just a way more efficient way of using my time, because then I'm doing two things at once.
Makes
So
sense.
figure out how to do that in your life, and you'll be 2 to 5 times as productive. All right, the next one is another key to making your videos rank well on YouTube. So just like the thumbnail and the tags and everything like that, another important aspect of it is engagement. So that's why when you watch YouTube videos, you'll see a lot of times people will be like, make sure to like and subscribe, to the channel, leave us a comment. But what that does is it shows YouTube that your viewers are engaged. They want the viewers engaged because that means that they're interacting with the content. They must have liked it enough to comment. If they didn't like it, they would have just went to a different video.
Yeah.
So if someone comes to the video and it's boring in the beginning, then they turn away. YouTube, the message that they get is like, okay, when someone searched for this, and then I send them Cynthia's video, and 5 seconds later they turn away. Obviously, they didn't like that, so they're going to be less likely to send someone your way when they're searching for that. And the
Okay.
same is true in the opposite end. If they stay and they watch it for a long time, then Google/YouTube says, oh, they must really like this content. So you want them to watch as much of it, and you want them to comment or like, subscribe. These types of signals are signals for engagement, and it will help the future videos rank better. And that video in particular rank better too. So
Okay.
some keys to get that to happen is maybe start off, think of how you start your videos really well, and maybe even give them a teaser. Like at the end of the video, there's a big surprise, or we're going to show you like if something happened in the middle of the filming and you make it like a bloopers or something like that, you could just cut that out, leave it at the end, and kind of tease them to make them like, oh, I wonder what's going to happen at the end, and that will increase your engagement. Or if your husband is preaching, he might say, if you agree with this, give me an amen in the comments, and then people go in the comments and write amen.
Mm-hmm.
Little things
Okay.
like that to get people engaged will help not only your ranking of the videos, but will help build a good engaged audience, which is what you want. All right, and once you're doing
Okay.
that, after a while, you may want to live stream. That's where a lot of this is going now, especially after the lockdown. It was already going in that direction, but live streaming is really, really booming right now. That's actually one area I'm getting ready to start getting into myself. Since I haven't, I can't speak to a lot of it, and it's always changing, especially right now because of how many more people are live streaming whatever they do.
Mm-hmm.
But you can do that from your phone. That's the easiest way, as opposed to like a professional camera. Our phones are the easiest way for now. It's just the audio is not ideal
Mm-hmm.
compared to a camera where you can plug in a microphone and stuff like that. So, if you have a good camera, usually the video is fine if the lighting is good. But depending on the room and a lot of other factors, the audio may not be as good. So, but you can get different types of microphones that will actually hook straight into your phone, and you can get it fairly inexpensive. So that's the route I would go if you use your phone, and that's just if you want to use it for live streaming. One other thing about live streaming that I'll mention is there's an app called Restream that will allow you to take your stream and publish it to multiple different platforms like Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. That way you're not just streaming to one platform, you're streaming to multiple. So it's way more efficient, way more
Nice.
productive. All right, I'll go over a couple more aspects of it, and then I'll give you a chance to ask a few more questions. But before I go, do you have any questions about anything I've covered so far?
Um, I don't think so. We've covered thumbnails, tags, the heading, the background. I don't think I have any questions as far as that.
Okay, cool. All right, I know it's a lot. It's like drinking through a fire hose, but the more you do it, the more it comes second nature.
Yeah.
And okay, so uh, obviously you want to promote yourself so people find it. In the beginning, it might just be sending emails to people, or if you're on social media, uploading it to social media, say, hey, I got this video. But also, besides that, you can go into, like, if you're on Facebook, you can find Facebook groups. There's basically Facebook groups for any type of interest or
Hmm.
whatever it is. and you can go in there and share because those people are actively engaged in that type of content. And if you don't see a Facebook group for your type of content, then that's a good indicator that you should create a Facebook group for that.
Okay.
So that's my little tip, promote it at other places from YouTube. Most of your traffic will come from YouTube, and there is more to it. Like once you upload it, you can add um, in cards and stuff at the end of your videos and stuff. Learning a lot of that stuff will just come over time
Mhm.
as you're doing all this. But so I won't get into too much details now because really the idea is just to get started.
Yeah.
Um, One thing that I think would be particularly good with your husband's channel is using a tactic that I use, and I don't know many people that actually do this. I actually went to a podcasting um, conference and talked to a lot of people, and they had never heard of it. I thought I had a, a blog post showing how to do it, but I couldn't find it, so I guess I never made it. I wanted to do it years ago, and what that is there's a way to set up your YouTube channel to where it will automatically be sent over to iTunes. Now, it's not for every channel. Like the kids' channel, you're not going to want to make it a podcast. But if it's something like where every single video you're going to be talking, like in the same way that we're doing now,
Yeah.
that's exactly how I had this set up. I'll upload it to YouTube. I have a specific channel just for my podcast, and it's convenient because then it automatically sends the video into the video portion of the iTunes podcast. So it saves me a step. I upload it once and it goes to the two main places I want it to go.
That's good.
But maybe you could just Google YouTube, the iTunes, something like that. It's a little complicated and weird setting up, but it doesn't take long. It didn't take me long. And once it's set up, you don't have to touch it again. So that's
Okay.
something to look into. I thought that was a great time saver. And there's
Oh yeah. Thank you.
podcasts are growing. So, if it's something that's podcast ready, if it's really heavy on the audio speaking, then
Mhm.
start a podcast too.
Awesome.
All right. And then at some point, you may want to monetize your channel or channels. So I'll quickly cover that. And, Facebook or YouTube always changes their requirements for what the channels need before they can start advertising. Last time I looked, it was like 1,000 subscribers and so on. And you don't really make a whole lot of money, maybe 1,000 or a few thousand per million views. But one of the other things, and I kind of touched on this before with the merch, and that was you can create your own merchandise
Mhm.
and sell it to your subscribers. So some people, what they do is they will actually wear their own shirts. So that way, like if you're shown in the video and you're wearing a shirt, maybe it has a cool phrase that
Mhm.
they resonate with, then they might want to wear that shirt too. Maybe they'll do it just to support you, so on and so forth. So one of the most common ways people are doing that is using a website called TSpring. So that's TEE like T-shirt
Mhm.
spring.com.
Okay.
And what this does is it's print on demand. So you don't have to do anything. You don't have to buy like 1,000 shirts and then mail them out when someone wants a shirt. You just set it up, maybe wear it so you promote it, mention it in your videos or something. And when people buy it, the company will print it up and mail it straight to the person. So it's basically evergreen. You set it up once and it just keeps doing it without any more work on your part. So that's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much all I wanted to cover. I know it's not everything, but this is a pretty good start for anyone who wants to be getting into the whole idea of YouTubing. Obviously, you've got to make good videos, which is going to require equipment. It's going to require technical skill. You want your video quality to be good. You want your audio quality to be good. If it's mostly just someone speaking, then the audio quality is more important than the video quality. So now that I went over that, um, what other questions do you have for me that I haven't covered yet, or anything about what I have covered?
And one question I had is, when do you think is a good time? Is there any particular time or to upload a video, or just upload at any time?
Well, it's a pretty good question. So I would say the best time to upload it is when is best for you. Because if you overcomplicate it and don't do it, then then you're holding yourself back. But
Mm.
besides that, that's kind of like a weird, vague answer. But the typical response is going back to the consistency thing. So if you have a channel, you want to maybe try to upload them on the same day of the week or the same time. And it also depends on the content that you're producing. If it's kids, then you might want to release it during a time when kids are not in school,
Uh-huh.
but you don't want to release it too late when they're in bed. So it really depends on your audience and what you're producing. But I would say a good rule of thumb is to just figure out what's best for you and your niche, and upload it consistently at that time or that day of the week.
Okay. And as far as editing the videos, is that a tedious process, or?
Well, there's a learning curve. So in the beginning, you're not going to be very efficient with your use of time. Video editing is, I think it's fairly easy. It's just like anything else, when you don't know how to do it, it can be overwhelming, and just getting over that learning curve is the hardest
Mhm.
part. But it's a type of thing where a simple edit is fairly easy. And if you have, like, I could show you in a matter of minutes what you need to know. But if you wanted to do more complex things, obviously you could spend the rest of your life learning
Yeah,
complex things. So it's easy to learn, but difficult to master. Do you use a PC or a Mac?
PC.
Okay. I'm a Mac guy, so I'm not familiar with any of the free editing programs for the PC.
Okay. Okay.
So I can't give any recommendations, but I'm sure there are free editing software programs. The only one that I know is a professional one, and it's not very user friendly, and that's Adobe Premiere. So I don't recommend that unless you are wanting to do it for a living or something. There's got to be
Mhm.
an easier one, so that would just be something to Google search. And it
Okay.
probably changes over time. And even if you have to pay for something, especially if it's user friendly, I would say go that route, especially if it's your first time editing. It being user friendly would be a really, really good thing. Probably the
Yeah.
most important thing, because you don't want to get overwhelmed and everything like that. Because progress inspires you. It's like the fuel to the fire. If you're
Yeah.
pumping out videos, you're gonna be excited about it. Whereas if you're
Yeah.
sitting there trying to YouTube how to do this in your software, you're gonna be discouraged. So
Oh
that'd be my
yeah.
recommendation. But as far as if you the easiest way would be for the kids gaming channel. That's going to be easier because they have specific software to live stream. This is actually what my daughter does with her gaming channel, and which is
Mhm.
cool because she's learning it. She's probably knows more about it than me because she uses it.
Mhm.
And again, it's getting bigger and bigger into the future. So she's learning how to use this live streaming software, and she's only 8. It's great.
Wow, that's awesome.
And this is a PC or Mac based software, but it's not going to be for every type of YouTube channel. And it's called Streamlabs OBS.
Okay.
That's what people are using. So what happens is you connect it. It takes there's a little bit of a learning curve, but there's no editing if you do it right.
Mm.
What you do is, like, the kids will get on there and they'll start streaming. They'll go live and stream on YouTube, and when they're done, it's done. They don't have to edit it, which is great. And I found when I find a workflow like that, I produce a lot more content.
Yeah.
As soon as you're having to import the footage, you're taking up space on your hard drive. One day the hard drive's full, then you get to order another hard drive, and then you're figuring out how to format it and all this other stuff. Um, it's just really nice doing it that way because the editing is I'm fast at it, but it took me time to get fast.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and even then, so you get busy, and then sometimes you just don't have the time, or you don't feel like making the time. So the video games is the easiest part. I recommend just doing it live like that, but then you have to be ready. You can't take breaks and stuff like that because then the video is
Mhm.
people are gonna not want to watch it. So the kid has to be ready to do it straight on.
Um, my
Yeah,
son can sit there for now for hours.
yeah, exactly. Mine too. Mine too. So that's a good resource for that. And then another good thing about that is that they have headsets. Like I bought my daughter a headset on Amazon. We've went through three of them. One of them didn't work, so I don't know if that was just we just got a bad one or whatever. But we've went through three different ones, and they all appear to be pretty good. And we're only buying like the $30 ones, and the
Oh,
quality that you get both over your ears and with the microphone is
yeah.
absolutely amazing for $30.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm really impressed with the value of them. So you just go on Amazon and just look at whatever is around that price range or whatever your budget is and has great reviews, and you'll probably get a pretty good headset, and they'll be able to hear them extremely well. And the ones we've had has noise canceling, so where even if something is going on in the room or the house, it doesn't pick up on it. So really, you can start your own gaming YouTube channel for $30 headset is really all you need besides a computer, which is
Oh,
pretty amazing.
yeah, that's awesome.
Did you have any other questions that I didn't cover?
Let's see here. I wrote a couple down. I think you covered most of them. Let's see. The softwares, we went over softwares, editing. Oh, the songs. So I see a couple videos they have there. Songs. How do you create and upload your song, your own, or rather, how can you get like the background music or the beats? Like, how do you create the?
Okay,
Yes.
yeah. So there's a few different ways of doing that. If you're doing the live streaming, there is a way to do that within the live streaming software. Um, I don't because I don't use it, not yet. I'll be using it in the future, but my daughter knows how to do it. So
Oh,
she you can put on like background music and stuff like that. There's a way to do that in the software. Um, other than that, what you want royalty free music, just in the same way when I was going over Pixabay.com, they have all those different royalty free images that you can use. There are also websites that have royalty-free music, and the reason why you want to use that is because otherwise they'll delete your channel. They'll maybe give you a strike for using copyrighted music. So that's the important thing is you want royalty-free stuff. And there's a few different ways of going about doing that. And actually, YouTube recently, I mean within the past few years, they released an audio library of music that's royalty free, so you can use in their videos. So that's a good resource. Um, I
yeah.
I use um, a few different places to get my music, but that's because I do like wedding videos and stuff like that. So I pay a premium service. Um,
Okay.
and I'll link to that and on the show notes. But it's not expensive, but in the beginning you don't really need it. So it just depends
Yeah.
on if you're willing to spend money or not. There are other free resources online besides YouTube, so you just gotta look through them.
Look around.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So it's actually time consuming, unless you just pick the first thing that you like or whatever. But you could spend a lot of time just trying to find music to go with your videos.
Okay. It's an adventurous journey, is what it sounds like, and I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited for you.
I'm
It sure is a lot
excited.
of fun. And the
Yeah.
kid thing is great because, you know, even if no one ever sees it, you're making awesome home videos for
Yeah.
yourself that
Yeah.
in the future will be priceless.
Yes.
I love it. You know, and a lot of the kids channels, you know, I watch the families like the Funnel Vision family and stuff, and they just go out and do awesome stuff. Go to amusement parks and just do all kinds of crazy out of the ordinary stuff, and it's great for the family. They get to spend quality time together, and you know, obviously, it's great for other families. They get other ideas. And the kids get entertainment out of it. But generally I see that the families, they look really happy. I mean, that would be a cool, I mean, they're making good money. They have to be. But how cool would that to be instead of working away from the family, actually being able to make a
Exactly.
living, doing fun stuff with your children? I mean, that's really
Yeah.
it's incredible to be able to do that.
The
So
blessing.
I definitely wish you success and all that. And that's why I wanted to go over all this. And of course, I'm here if you need anything. And if
Yeah.
anyone listening wants to email me about maybe a consultation to get some one-on-one help or something like that, email me at info@theawarenessrevolution.com. And with that said, thanks so much for joining us today, Cynthia. I hope it was really a valuable use of your
Yes.
time. Great, because then that means it will be for other people as well.
Thank
And
you. Thank you so much, Jeremy.
we'll
Thank you.
talk again soon. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to the Awareness Revolution podcast. Be the change you wish to see in the world.